to another episode of the Perry Thomas Show. I'm your host and voice of Fighting Tiger football, Colin Sheffield. Alongside me, as usual, head coach Perry Thomas. Coach Thomas, this game was one for the ages in the Battle of Highway 55. Another time down, you're on the road, and it was really a fantastic ball game, especially considering the past couple of years. This one was really competitive. It was really high energy. And it's one that you could maybe be a little disappointed in, but at the same stretch, you have to be pretty happy with the way your team played against a number 3 team in the nation.
Yeah, well, we're actually very disappointed in it. You know, we, certainly when you look at the improvement from last year, I mean, we're excited that our guys are getting older, getting more mature, and are better football players and a better football team. So there's no doubt about that. But very disappointed, not just because you're playing the number 3 ranked team in the nation, not just because it's the Battle of the Highway 55 sign and all that stuff, but also just disappointed to lose another game so close, another MSC division game. And so we're excited. I love, our guys got after it, played hard, but we compete every week. But we still got to bust that door down to get to that next level that we want to get back to. And we had a great opportunity 2 weeks ago against Thomas More, and even a better opportunity the other night. We go into the fourth quarter leading. I think it's the first time since 2018 that Lindsay's trailed at halftime. And it was right there in our hands, and, they pulled it off, and we didn't.
We'll take a look at the box score of that game. The Tigers fall on the road 21-12. A few big players. I know Josh Meglis had 234 yards. He had a pretty good passing performance. Andre Seiler with an amazing game, 10 receptions, 145 yards. And then Diago Brumfield, who was the NCCAA Player of the Week and our impact player of the game, 5 tackles, 1 for loss, and that pick 6 that really got things going for the team.
Well, it was a huge play for us. And the thing about Diego's, he's a sophomore. He's got plenty of time left with us, but that was a huge play. Kind of set the tone for the night that, hey, we're not the team we were last year. We are a better team, and we're here to play for 60 minutes. And it kept got our guys going a little bit. Seiler, I thought he stepped up and had a great game. Some sideline catches that were phenomenal. Catching it as he's falling out of bounds, that type of deal to move the sticks. And then Meglis had another pretty good game also. A big key is we got to get back to where we can control the line of scrimmage again on the offensive line. We've struggled with that the last couple of weeks. Now, by the same token, Lindsey Wilson, 3rd ranked team in the nation, struggled with that against us. So that's just big time ball. And in big time ball, all sides of the game have to show up. Offensively, your pass and your run, something has to excel. The last couple of weeks it's been our passing game, and defensively has to show up, and kicking game has to show up. And we struggled a little bit with kicking game the other night on some returns, but I thought those guys had big games for us.
This one was certainly a defensive battle. The Tigers and the Blue Raiders both. No offense was really given for the most part. You mentioned it was the defensive touchdown for us on the pick 6, and it was their 2 special teams touchdowns, a 92-yard kickoff return, and then the, I believe, 70-something yard punt return touchdown that kind of broke open the game a little bit. After you come off of causing the fumble, just tough go on the special teams. They're number 1 in the nation in punt return average, special teams return average, with averaging 40 yards a game. That's a tough stretch.
Yeah, it was just tough, and we had a great plan coming into the game, and 6 was not supposed to touch the ball at all, in his returns, and we were actually trying to punt the ball out of bounds. And, sometimes people think that's easy, but when you get in the game and you're used to punting the ball, and hitting 50, 60-yard punts and trying to collision that ball the way the best you can, it's a little tough sometimes to get it out of bounds. And for the most part, we covered, but then we had 2 where we didn't cover well. One, obviously, we knocked the ball out and got a fumble, but then the second one late in the game, he had to run backwards to catch the ball, and then he takes off and scores, and we just missed some tackles on him. But the plan was for him not to touch the ball. We was going to punt totally away from him out of bounds, and even if it was a 30-yard punt, that was better than giving up a possible touchdown. The kickoff return, we wasn't going to kick to him either. We kicked to 7, and 7, ran it back. But that was just a great job by them. And those things happen. You just gotta respond, and for the most part, we did. We just the punt return happened so late. It was a little hard for us to get it back. And when we had a chance, if we could kick that field goal down there as the time was running out with about 3 minutes to go, we still had 3 timeouts. If we could kick that field goal and then onside kick it, then we got a chance to come down and win the game. But they blocked the field goal, so, it's just the way it goes.
A couple of other offensive miscues I think that I really noticed. Meglis was struggling to kind of get rid of that ball. You mentioned the offensive line was a little rough in that game, and their defensive line was so good. They were so quick, really able to blow up the edge and not give your rushers any chance to get around. Yeah. And when they were in the backfield, Meglis would kind of run a little too far back and hold on to it for a little too long, and that led to a lot of huge sacks.
Yeah, I mean, and it just happens. Once again, you can't just throw it. You have to be outside the tackle box, and you have to, be able to get it beyond the line of scrimmage. And there's little things to it that sometimes you're like, throw it away, but you might not be outside that tackle box. And they had one where they threw away that I thought was very questionable. And when you watch film, it wasn't outside the tackle box. It should have been a penalty. And then the ball also has to get beyond the line of scrimmage. So sometimes the angle doesn't allow you to do that when you're trying to escape. And it's just one of those things that happens. So you have to be able to respond. And when you really look back at it, for the most part, we did. We wasn't able to put a lot of points on the board, but neither were they. Their response was they got 2 kicking game scores. And it's hard for a team to respond to a defensive score because you don't expect those. And it's hard to respond to kicking game score because, once again, those are things that you're not really expecting. And I thought it was they just found a way to win it, and we didn't.
Well, we'll talk about the bright spot in the game, and that's your defense. Defense played very well. They only gave up 1 regular touchdown on that slant route over the middle, and that was really it. The defense played good. Will McDonald, the quarterback for the Blue Raiders, was number 1 in the nation in passer efficiency. You forced 2 interceptions on him. You forced the fumble from Ethan Cash. Your defense seemed back to normal. They were back to making those tackles, and they were really stopping the Blue Raider rushing game as well.
Yeah, I thought our defense stepped up, and it actually stepped up in some tight times. There were some times when they were in the red zone, and we was able to push them back out of it. We have a tremendous secondary. They're young. But they can all play, and not only the guys you're seeing on the field on Saturdays, but even our scout team secondary guys can play. And we have some tremendous box guys that are young and getting after it. And you put some leadership in there like a Grover Russell and, a Bood Elias and some of those guys. It just makes for a pretty, efficient defense. And other than the one game, we've played outstanding defense this year. And I think we will most of the year. We are very good over there. Those guys do a great job coaching them under Coach Burnett's leadership, and those guys fly around and they believe in it. When you look at someone, the quarterback come in the other day, number 1 rated, you have to also look at whom they're playing and those type of things. And not many people is going to put the speed on the field in the secondary or defense period as we do. Lindsey Wilson is one of those teams that does. They have those guys out there like us, and they cause you fits. And I think we're capable of doing the same thing.
Well, we'll let you out of the hot seat real quick, and we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have the outside linebackers coach and special teams coordinator Matt Atwood here on the Perry Thomas Show.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are in the right seats for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
How you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Mason.
Thank you.
A place to make my own, a place that I call home, this place that I call home.
Welcome back to the Perry Thomas Show. Beside me, I have the outside linebackers coach and special teams coordinator, Matt Atwood. Coach Atwood, I love seeing you in this chair. We go back just a little bit. You're the leader of FCA here on campus, so I've gotten to know you pretty well over the past 3 years, and it's certainly nice to have you in the chair.
Yeah, man, it's good to be back. It's good to see you. Happy for you in your new role. Doing all this stuff and having a good time, and doing the play-by-play. Doing a great job, man.
I hope I'm making you proud out there and doing at least well in my job. But either way, tough road loss in the Battle of Highway 55. Your team looked better than they ever have before. They looked extremely up to the task and just came down to a couple of missed things. And, in football that happens, but just a tough way to lose it.
Yeah, it's tough to go out and lose a game in the fashion that we did, but extremely proud of our kids and our coaches and how we perform, and just the overall mentality that we're playing with this season has been awesome. We've been itching to be back in these top 5, top 10 games, 1-2 score games, and like it's 1 or 2 plays that make a difference. And we've been itching to be back in these spots, and we got a young team still at times, so we still have to learn how to handle those moments and learn to win those extra couple of 2 or 3 plays that win or lose you a game against a top 10 opponent. But I'm extremely proud of the strides that we've made for sure.
So you're a former player turned coach.
Yeah.
Khalil Baker, my partner, is color commentary, former player turned color commentary. You see that a lot more these days now than ever. But I know during the game he had said how much he wanted to be back out on the field in those moments.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel that in those moments?
Oh, yeah. I don't know that there's ever a game that I coach that I'm like, man, I wish I'd rather be playing than coaching. I love to coach. It's a passion of mine for sure, but it don't compare to playing. And playing in a game of that magnitude and, the crowd and, our fans were there and it was huge, and just the buzz around campus, around the game and things like that, you live for those. And the same for, this coming Saturday, homecoming, the 201 kick, and, just the whole fan base will be out, and, all of Tiger Nation, and you just live for those moments. It's still awesome to coach in them and it's still a lot of fun, but nothing compares to playing.
So you're the outside linebackers coach. We've seen this defense really transform this season. They've been all over the ball, forcing fumbles, hitting hard, getting into the backfield. What do you preach to your guys? What have you seen as that difference this season?
Yeah, I think defensively, our ego and our bravado going into the game is going to be about physicality and you got to earn every step. We're not going to give you nothing free. We're going to play extremely hard. We're not going to give in to any outside circumstances. Doesn't matter what's going on. Doesn't matter if it's hot, cold. Doesn't matter if we're winning, losing. We're going to play with that same tempo and that same belief and just that same swag every step of the way, every play of the game. We tell these kids all the time, you're built for 90 reps. So it don't matter how many you play in a game. You're built for this. And, our kids proved it Saturday night. We took the quote-unquote top 5 team in the country to the brink and, made them earn every snap and every play. There was no easy plays for them the entire game. And, I guarantee you they know that what they faced out there was a real elite defense and, a team that loves to fly around. This group is so much fun to coach because, they truly believe in everything that we're preaching as a defensive staff and as a football team about hustle and effort and just flying around. They play with a great belief that that's going to make them better, flying around, getting to the football, 11 hats, doing their 1 of 11 is a huge thing that we preach, each guy doing his job. And, the first thing that they got to do is play hard. If they can't play hard, they got to stand over there next to us somewhere.
So you have Faulkner coming up for that homecoming game. What are you seeing out of them that maybe you want to tailor either special teams or your linebackers to?
Yeah, I think anytime you're playing in a game, it's about us. It's about being who we are and establishing the things that we want to establish. And, we want to make a team play left-handed, so we want to take away their best tools, their best weapons. And, I think that they're a very diverse offense. They're a passing team, but they still are split 50-50. Yeah, they want to throw it, but they want to throw it on their terms, so they want to stay ahead of the sticks and run the ball early, and they try to bring a physical style of football into play. And, they'll do several things that, we're going to design and take away from them, we hope, on paper, and force them to play a game that, we want to play, on our terms. And then kicking game-wise, kicking game this week is about us. We've got to improve the things that we did poorly in the last game that led to our demise. Small tweaks and things like that, things that I need to be doing better. As the coordinator, we can never allow scores on kicking game at all. And just continue to improve our fundamentals and techniques in kicking game that solve those small things. It's not, we didn't go into the Lindsay game afraid of anything they did on kick game, but we had a healthy respect for, the guys that they had back there and the belief that they played with, that those guys are going to make plays, is a huge part of who they are. And, we wanted to take that away, and 90% of the game I felt like we did. And, 2 or 3 plays, really changed the outcome of the game. We got to learn as a young team that, every play in a kicking game scenario is game-changing one way or the other. If you're punting, you got to make sure we get that guy on the ground. We got to make sure that they can't block our punt. And, if we're kicking off, it's got to end with the tackle. Hook or crook, no matter how we get it done, we got to be getting those things done. And, we'll improve that greatly. And, we've played really good special teams for the most part this season. We've had a couple of plays that, we definitely want back. But at the end of the day, I'm proud of the guys that we have playing kicking game and, the entire team's belief in how important those plays are. And, I'm excited to get to practice and, work on some things for Faulkner this week.
I think one way or the other is probably the perfect way to describe it.
Yeah.
You had the first punt, or you had the 1 punt return. Patterson looks like he's taking it all the way up to the Tiger 40 or 35-yard line, and you're able to punch it out. You get the big fumble, and then you have to turn around and punt it away again. And then he brings it back for that touchdown.
And, Chance Calvin did a great job right there. He's one of our outside linebackers. He's a guy I coach every single day. And, he saw that ball and he punched it right out. It's something that we preach on defense all the time. And kicking game is attacking the football. And, he gets it out. We kind of give ourselves a break on a play that really went their way, and we flip it at the very end. We play to the very final minute or second of that snap. And then, 4 plays later, he gets a chance at it again. And he's super dynamic, and, he's a great playmaker. And he's a guy we definitely wanted to keep the ball out of his hands. But you see why we didn't want him to even touch it. Even though we had opportunities to get him down. He's such a good player. He's such an elite level kick returner, punt returner. He made us pay for it. We limited him for the most part as best we could, but, all it takes is one.
Well, shout out to my guy, Chance Calvin. He's from my high school back in Louisville, from Butler High School, so shout out to Chance Calvin. But thank you for joining us, Coach Atwood, and sitting down and having a conversation with us. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll talk with head coach Perry Thomas about the upcoming matchup with Faulkner University. Don't go anywhere on the CU Sports Network.
I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. Now anything but lonely.
We had this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet,
We discover
they're a little bit of a lot of things.
But they're all pure love.
Welcome back to the Perry Thomas Show. Perry Thomas beside me as we look at the upcoming matchup, homecoming game. Tigers face off against Faulkner University. They were a top 25 team, have kind of slid down in the rankings just a little bit, but still a very good football team. After this past week, I'd certainly like the way that your team matches up.
Well, they're a tremendous football team. The only reason they've dropped a little bit in the rankings is because they've lost to 2 top 10 teams. They lost to Reinhardt, a 6-point game, and they lost to Georgetown at Georgetown in a 10-point game, 23-13. So you look at basically they're 16 points from being undefeated. They beat a University of Cumberland's team the other night in overtime. They were down 17-3 going into the fourth quarter and came back and they had a big charge in that fourth quarter and won 23-20, I think, in overtime. And they beat a point team in a close game earlier. So they're a tremendous football team, very talented team in all positions, big offensive line, big, strong, athletic defensive line. The defensive line will remind you a lot of Lindsay's. Not sure they get as much penetration, but they're big, strong, and fast. Great skill kids, more height and size than Lindsay had out there. And in the secondary, they're going to play some shell coverage and lock up with you a little bit. And they're just a really good team. They believe in their defense. They run an air raid system offensively where they're going to try to hit shallow routes and some deep routes and run the ball a little bit off of some zone stuff and some lead stuff, but and then run the quarterback too. But nothing real complicated, just really good football. So, it's going to be an interesting matchup.
The past 2 weeks, we've seen the teams, Thomas More and Lindsey Wilson, both kind of go all in to stop this Tiger rushing game, and they've done pretty well so far, holding 38 yards in that Thomas More game. If you include the sacks, negative 27 yards, but if you take those out, you have about 24 yards of rushing. So 2 times that this team's been held. Do you see the same thing happening in this next game, and they'll force you to pass?
Well, I think that's what they will try to do. We have really good running backs, and I think they will try to force us to run the football. From a head coaching standpoint, I don't care if we run or pass. I just want points on the board. Yeah. So when we go out against Thomas More and they shut down our run, but we still throw and able to get 36 points, I'm fine with that. Let's get the points. 36 points is enough to win the game. We just didn't stop them that night. The other night, we couldn't rush much, and we threw the ball decent, but we didn't get the points. The key is get the points. So whether that's running or passing, we got to get the points. Now, hopefully C.A. Collins will be back, so it'll give us those 3 running backs again, and we can get in some different looks with that. And then, make some changes up front with the offensive line on some of our schemes and so forth to help us a little bit in our our running game. But my focus is score touchdowns, and that's why I tell Coach Pardue, no matter how you have to do it, let's get in that end zone, and we can worry about those stats later.
The passing game for Faulkner has been big, as you mentioned. Yeah. So. And you have a lot of youth kind of now on this backside of your cornerbacks and your safeties, Nigel Nerese coming in. We saw him kind of make a couple of mistakes, just those freshman mistakes as usual, just a little bit of blown coverage. You see that is there anything that you're going to do, especially with them, or? No,
we'll play our regular stuff. Those guys are good. Those young guys, they're good. And like I said, we got some other guys over there that are really good also. Sometimes with a DB, you're just going to get beat. I mean, Deion Sanders was one of the best ever, and he would get beat, you know. And you look in the league, and those guys get millions of dollars, and they sometimes just get beat or blow a coverage. And it's just exploited because everybody can see them. But no, those guys will be fine. We'll come out and compete, and you know, a regular game plan, and put faith in those guys and let them go play ball and still try to get after the QB some. And you know, the key when you play somebody that can throw it well is you have to shut down the run, because if you in a situation where they can do both, then you can't stop anything. So we'll come in and focus on that box and stopping that run, and then get after the QB some to get him off his spot. And hopefully bait him into some throws where we have opportunities for picks. And you know, even the other night I think we got 2, but we had a chance for another one, and that one would have been huge too. So you know, those guys got a nose for the ball backer, and they cover well. We're probably one of the best coverage teams in the country in NAIA football, even with the youth.
So it's a homecoming game. Set 2:01
Right.
is the kickoff. Now, a lot of people might think that that's a very odd time to start a football game. Why 2:01? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, Coach Finley, you know, who started the football program, was big on the odd number for starting things, whether it was practice or meetings or anything. You know, they were going to start at 2:01, you know, 1:34, anything, because it just makes you focus a little bit more on being on time, you know, than the regular clock does. So, you know, the homecoming, I guess it's been a while now, 5 or 6 years, started making that a tradition of going to a 2:01 kickoff in honor of Coach Finley, and just to recognize that. And, you know, and homecoming is a great event. You know, I tell people all the time, everybody thinks homecoming is about football, and football is really just one of the major events of homecoming. Homecoming is about the campus and getting the alumni back on the campus, period, and you know, of all walks of life. You know, I don't care if they're from the nursing department, the education department, band, or whomever, getting them all back on campus, and then have that big event like football so you can come out and enjoy that. And I'm excited about it. You know, I know Stan Warren Huffman, one of our best receivers ever in the league that played here. He would be the honorary captain, so I'm excited to see him and all the alums that will come back for this event.
So you mentioned there's a bunch of other different things going on. That we have a parade. We usually have a car show. There's a big lunch out on Stapp Lawn. Right. It's always a good time. Do you usually partake in any of those festivities beginning, or you just focused on the game?
Yeah, I just focus on the game. You know, I know when we was in high school, we might do the dress-up week and those type of things, but now here we just focus on the game. And even our guys, they focus on the game and going out winning the game. And you know, we could party and parade and do all them things later on after the season's over. But yeah, I mean, but it is still exciting. You know, we'll walk over to the caf for our team meal, and there'll be people in there. I think they typically have a breakfast over there, and the parade will be either winding down or getting ready to start, and people will be marching through, coming back. So it's a nice day. You know, hopefully the weather's going to be nice, and we'll have a good turnout.
Any last thoughts on this upcoming matchup with Faulkner?
Well, yeah, we just need the crowd to show up like they've been doing. You know, I mean, just come out and have fun. You know, even in the 2 losses, we've been fun to watch. These guys compete. They don't quit. They come out and get after you. And, you know, our big thing now, this reminds me of my second year here. Back in 2009, it's been a while. But in 2009, we was trying to get over that hump. And we went down to Shorter University, 10th ranked team in the country. We was, I think, 1-4, 1-3 at the time. We go down to Shorter, 10th ranked team in the country, play them in a live nationwide stream games, one of the first one the NAIA had done on a Thursday night, and we upset them. 2 or 3 weeks later, we upset Georgetown here at home. And we were needing that knock the door down win to put that belief in our program again, and our guys understand we can do this every week, and you know, things took off, and that's where we're at now. We've suffered a little bit these last couple of years, and now we need to play a team like a Faulkner and these guys and Lindsay and those guys, and knock one of these jokers off. And once you do it once, now you're not going to do it every time, but you're going to have a great opportunity to do it every time because you believe you can get it done. So when you get in that fourth quarter the other night, it's not like trying to hold on; it's taking it. And that's where we're at right now. So I'm excited about another opportunity to get out with these guys. They're a fun bunch, and get out and compete in front of the homecoming crowd, and everyone just come out and enjoy the Tigers.
Thanks to Coach Thomas and Coach Atwood for stopping by. Be sure to come out and tune in as the Tigers take on Faulkner University. That kickoff set for 2:01 this Saturday on Findlay time. Thank you for tuning in to the Perry Thomas Show.